Hello, everybody. And yes, I know Fraser and Scott just stole my kickoff line. I thought I was being very clever by telling you all I am joining you from the future. As you probably got from the accent, I'm joining you from Australia, but not just Australia, the littlest island down the bottom of Australia. I'm from Tasmania. It is 4 a.m. here. It is bright and early on Tuesday morning. So I'm even further into the future. So I can tell you, Monday night goes well. The event goes off beautifully as you all are enjoying this incredible event. So thank you so much, Scott, and the amazing team from Multibrain, also for the DSA for putting on this incredible event today and for including me in the event. I'm so super excited to share with you today a little around relationship building to grow your direct selling business on social media. But we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive in this space. And I love what some of our previous presenters have shared around this. And I'm going to help pull all of this together for you all today. So I'm so excited for what's in store for you all. But just really, really quickly, I know many of you I haven't met before. And so, I was just listening to Fraser's story and just reminded of, how similar, his beginning was. But mine has a little bit of a twist to it. So I thought I'm just going to quickly share with you why it is that I do what I do every day, which is to share strategies in the direct selling industry to grow our businesses through relationship building on social media. Why do I only work with this industry? I could teach social media to anybody in any business. Why pick this industry? Well, this industry holds a very, very special place in my heart. I'm not going to go into the full story today. I love to share this when I keynote at events, but I'm just going to give you a little bit of an insight into that background because whilst Fraser's story is their family got into network marketing because of financial challenges and trying to change that. For me, I actually grew up in a I guess a household where it was literally just me and my dad. I grew up alone with my dad. And he was a business owner, but he was one of those constantly struggling business owners, always on struggle street, always on the verge of bankruptcy, never able to make ends meet. And I actually entered into this industry out of necessity in order to help to relieve some of that financial pressure in my home. So it was actually me that stepped into this industry at the age of 14 years old. I started my very first ever direct selling business. And it goes without saying, this industry literally changed the trajectory of my life in so many more ways than I could have ever imagined. By the time I was 16 years old, I was one of the top 10 distributors in Australia in the company that I was with. I was earning more income than my dad and earning an income really that 16-year-olds could only ever dream of. But I had received and achieved so much more than that. I was in an industry where suddenly I had a sense of hope, a sense of possibility. I was learning things I could have never learned through any other job, any other opportunity. And most importantly, I got to see what the incredible community of this industry really, truly does. It also showed me that we already have everything that we need within us right now to achieve incredible things. I learned that knowledge doesn't come from smarts and wisdom doesn't come from smarts, but it simply comes from getting out of your comfort zone and getting comfortable with being uncomfortable. In other words, embracing failure. And I loved what Fraser just said about getting messy. One of the amazing things about this industry is it's okay. We're surrounded by so many other people around us who are all on this same journey. And it's like a big, giant family. Confidence also comes from within. And one of the things that I want to talk to you about today, one of the things I learned in those early days in the industry when I very first started out in my career is that successful businesses don't come from, again, our knowledge. They don't come from, our background. They don't come from, how clever we are. They come from the relationships that we build and invest in. Our network is our net worth. And, I really want to encourage you today that if there's anything that I can leave you with, anything that everyone here can leave you with today, it is that relationships are one of the most powerful things that you can invest in order to grow your amazing business right now. And can I just say, never before have we had an opportunity as amazing as the opportunity that we have right now. We literally have the world at our fingertips. Never before have we been able to reach people on a global level. In fact, we're able to reach people right now we should never have had the right or been able to connect with. And here we sit. I'm speaking with you guys in all sorts of places all across the globe, from little old Tasmania, Australia, and I'm getting to help you grow your business, and you can have a very similar impact as well. My husband Greg and I run our company Oxano. We do work now exclusively in this space because I wanted to be able to give back to the industry that has given me so much. And like so many of the others that have shared today, I am so insanely passionate about what this industry is, what it stands for, and what it's got ahead of it in the future. I'm going to share with you today some ways to add unprecedented value, to connect more than you communicate. And I want to show you how to build trust on social media. We've had the opportunity just over the last couple of years alone to be able to reach over 172,000 direct sellers globally with our trainings, keynotes, courses, etc. And I'm going to share with you some of the time-tested strategies that have worked for so many of those people. In addition to all of this, I am also a mum. Yes, I've got 4 beautiful kids, 5 if you include my husband, Greg. And, one of the things that also makes this really beautiful is that I love the fact that through what we get to do today, we get to travel the globe, bringing our kids with us from time to time. As Scott mentioned, we had the opportunity to bring them over to Dallas recently to meet Scott and his family as well. And, these little guys get to see the impact that Greg and I get to have every day. But you know what's even more important to me than that? What's even more powerful than that is they get to see the impact that you have. I really truly believe in the ripple effect. I believe that each and every one of you is having a significant impact right now, even if you don't see it, even if you don't understand what that impact is. But on every single customer that you serve, on every team member that you work with, on your family, on your friends, each and every one of those people every day, you are having an impact on and a ripple effect on. And I just want to remind you that by you simply stepping up and being all that you can be, you're impacting lives by simply showing up. So if I can achieve one thing today, my mission would be to breathe a little bit of courage into you to step up and show up. And I'm going to talk to you about how to do that, yes, on social media, but I want to remind you of something important here. This is a relationship industry. Might have heard the term, it's a belly-to-belly industry. Well, it's changed a little over the years. But the thing I want you to remember here for a little moment, social media isn't the be-all and end-all. It's not about using social media 100% of the time to grow your business, but it is about using this incredible tool for what it was intended for, to connect, to nurture, to relate, and to reach people you otherwise wouldn't have the opportunity to reach. So as we go into this, I want to really quickly talk to you about 4 key fears that I believe that truly get in our way and hold us back. Now, why am I going all negative Nancy on us here? Well, I think it's really important first that we address what is getting in our way. Like I said, we've trained hundreds of thousands of direct sellers, over the years that we've been in this business, and we hear the same 4 issues coming up again and again and again. When people tell us they're not showing up, you've heard some of the other speakers mention some of these today. These 4 things keep coming up. I know for many of you listening right now, you are probably experiencing one, if not all of these 4 challenges. But I want to bring them up because the first step here is recognizing them, understanding what they are, and knowing how to overcome them so you can grow the business of your dreams. So let's have a little bit of a look at what the first of these fears are that get in our way and hold us back from being successful on social media. The first one is this. Have you ever had a fear of pestering and hounding family and friends? I have no doubt that many of you have. In fact, I know that many people don't even step into this industry for a long time because they're worried that this is the only way to grow their business. Now, while your existing network is a powerful way to grow your business, there's a way to do it. There's an appropriate way to do it. But we also want to be reaching people outside of that network. because eventually we're going to exhaust it, right? So the question for a lot of people is, how do I reach people I don't yet know? How do I get outside of my family and friends? And this is the magic of the tool that you have at your fingertips right now. The next is this. Who's ever felt a little bit like social media seems like it can be a little bit of a waste of time? I'm wasting my time and getting no results. I'm doing what everyone's told me to do. I'm posting, I'm doing the stuff that, I've been told to put out there. I'm playing with reels or I'm playing with stories. And for whatever reason, it's not working. And I feel like I'm wasting my time and we just give up. Well, again, this is a really common fear and it definitely gets in the way, but I'm going to give you some tools with this one today. The next one is this. This has always been a big one for me. Again, we all get challenged by these things from time to time, but if I've got any fellow perfectionists in the room right now, the fear of failure can be a big challenge. What if I get it wrong? Again, you heard Fraser talking about getting messy. What if I get it wrong? Maybe I'll just wait till I get it right. And then there is comparison. That looks a little bit like comparing your journey with somebody else's journey. Looking at someone else and thinking, they look better on camera than I do. They're better at using these tools than I am. They're more tech savvy than me. They know how to speak about the product better than I do. And so we start comparing ourselves to other people and we end up doing one of two things. The first thing that we do is we start mimicking other people. We start copying what other people do, thinking I need to be more like them and less like me in order to be successful in this industry. Or we do the second thing, which is nothing. We just sit back and do nothing. And of course, our business likewise does nothing. The last fear is probably the most common of all of these. And I think this is one that we have to be really aware of all the time because it can completely stop us in our tracks, and that is overwhelm. Let's face it, there are a lot of platforms out there. Just today alone, you've been gifted so much incredible knowledge. You've all of these tips and tricks that have been given to you. And you might be sitting there now going, what next? What do I need to do with all of this? What does all of this mean for me? And you might be feeling overwhelmed, or you might be like vast majority of the people probably watching social media day right now, which if any of you are my age or older, I'm in my mid to late 30s, probably closer to the late end. And I know many of you right now, like me, did not learn technology at school. Now, technology for me was a subject that was actually woodwork and metalwork. That's what they called technology when I was in high school. We had one computer for our whole year level. So when it came to technology that we know today, social media, all of these things that we're using, we had to self-teach. And I think most of you probably haven't given yourselves the credit for the fact that you are probably 100%, if not close to, self-taught. But yet you got onto this training. You've got probably a smartphone within arm's reach of you right now that you know how to use. No problems at all. Who taught you that? Did you go to a lesson? Did you do a class? Heck no. You learned how to use that yourself. So I just want to start by saying there is nothing you can't learn right now. You 100% have everything around you that you need in order to master social media, because there is one thing that makes your business unique. There's one thing that makes your business different. And it's the only thing you have to learn how to showcase. It's you. You are the one thing that people are waiting for to show up. We'll talk a little bit more as we go through. But can I just say, nobody felt comfortable the first time they went live. Nobody. Anyone that did, I want to have a talk to you, but no one felt comfortable the first time they went live. So just remember that growth and success comes from stepping into the unknown. And, a very, very wise, very special person once shared with me when I first stepped into this business, if you're going to be successful at any business, you've got to get comfortable with getting uncomfortable. And it couldn't have been truer. It's something I remind myself of literally every single day. So I just want to remind you, these fears are not new things. These are fears that, if I'm doing a keynote or a presentation at an event in person, as I go through these, I ask people to stand up. And by the time I get to the last one, we've usually got 99% of the room standing. And it's just a reminder we're not alone in this. We're not alone in the challenges we all face. Whether we're brand new at social media or super experienced, we all, experience many of these challenges. Now, I also want to just mention one other very important thing here right now as we go into some strategies and tips that I'm going to use to kind of summarize a bit of what was talked about today and, arm you ready to step into your business and take it to the next level. There's one very important thing you've got to remember, and that is knowledge isn't power. I know we've all heard that many times, but I disagree. Knowledge is not power. It's only potential power. It's not until we choose to pick the tools up and do something with the knowledge imparted on us that we get the growth and the benefit from that. So I'm going to encourage you to do something today. You've probably taken a ton of notes. If you're anything like me, when you do any kind of a learning experience, you take a ton of notes. But I want to encourage you, take 1, 2, or 3 things from those notes today and commit to implementing those things in your business in the next 24 to 48 hours. Because it is only the tools that we pick up that we are going to get the benefit from. And so think to yourself, what for me makes the most sense? Now, I also want to arm you with a piece of knowledge that's going to help you make wise decisions as you move forward. There are a lot of people out there that will tell you what to do on social media, what works, what doesn't work. And I want you to be able to make some good choices around this. You've heard a number of people today talk about the algorithm, and I very quickly want to explain this to you in super simple terms so you understand why not everything you put out there right now is getting seen and how do we change that. So in order to understand that, we need to know what's going on behind the scenes, but I'm going to talk about this in layman's terms because that's how I like things explained to me. So to give you a bit of an idea, back in 2009, roughly, Facebook recognized that its platform was becoming a very busy place. You see, at that time, and you might remember it, businesses had cottoned onto the fact that they had a captive audience on this platform, and they actively began promoting their products, services, and business opportunities to anyone and everyone that would listen. This was before the days of business pages, and the environment on Facebook got super spammy. People began leaving the platform in droves. And so Facebook thought, you know what, if we're going to keep our platform going, we're going to have to adapt and become smarter. And so it implemented 2 key things. The first thing it brought into play was business pages to segment the content out. But the second thing it did was it brought into play a program that operates in the background of Facebook. By the way, every social media platform that you use has its own algorithm now. So this is relevant to any platform. But let's just talk about Facebook for a moment. So Facebook implemented the algorithm, a program that operates in the background of the platform. Now, its sole job is to learn everything there is to learn about each and every one of you. Its job is to learn about what websites you go to, who you're friends with, what sort of conversations you're having with those friends, what you do for a living, what your interests are, what your family life looks like, how many kids you have, how old they are, if you've got pets, what car you drive, and even your household income. It takes all of this information and it uses it to deliver you only the content it knows that you want to see, with the intention of keeping you on the platform for longer and more frequently. So to put this into really simple terms, your feed on any social media platform that you go to, including Facebook, is customized to you like a fingerprint. It is made for you and you alone, and there are no 2 the same. So what does this have to do with you and your business as you're growing it and you're putting content out there? Well, every post you create is getting filtered by this algorithm, by this program, which is deciding who to show it to, where and when. So the secret here is, first of all, understanding what it's looking for. Second of all, using it to your advantage, because when you give the algorithm what it wants, guess what? It does a lot of the heavy lifting for you. So I also want to make this very, very clear. Getting great at this is not about being more technical. That's the great news. You don't have to be really good at technology. You don't have to be tech savvy. You simply have to be more you. That's the secret. So let's have a little bit of a look at what are some of the things that the algorithm is currently looking for. Well, first of all, It's looking for conversational content. Content where healthy conversation is happening, not just comments, but comments on the comments. It's looking for the interaction. By the way, your audience are also looking for healthy interaction. So it's the best thing that we can be doing. And I'll give you some strategies with this in just a moment. The next thing it's looking for, also your customers are looking for this, is real, relatable, and human content, which comes down to something you may have heard before, UGC. I'm just going to tell you that's user generated content. I think people like to make things sound so much more complex than they really are. But Adam Mosseri, head of Instagram, and Mark Zuckerberg have both confirmed again and again and again, and again in the last 6 months alone, those people who create unique content, user generated content, will be rewarded. This means posts you create, captions you write, photos you take, reels you make. At the end of the day, the content that you create will be rewarded because it's real, it's relatable, it's you, and most importantly, it's unique, it's one of a kind. The next thing it's looking for, and I'm going to touch on this in a moment, is consistency. We'll come back to that. And last but definitely not least is it's looking for sharing versus selling. Again, Fraser mentioned this earlier. Selling is the worst thing you could possibly do on social media. Not only does the algorithm pick up on that and go, promotional business, this is not relatable, this is not human, this is not real. But the other problem is that your audience generally switches off too, because we are so programmed for the sell. So share versus sell. Remember, people buy from those that they like, know, and trust. They're buying from you not because of the product or the company. While that may be incredible, they're buying from you because they care about what you do. They care about what you care about. They care about what you're passionate about. And so when you share those things, when you share your personality, when they feel a connection and an affinity to you, they are more likely to care about what you do, what you use, the business that you're in. Now, let's come back to consistency for a moment, because this for me is probably one of the most important parts of this process, and also the thing I believe most people get wrong. Now, Scott said earlier that there's an analogy that I was going to share today. Now, I love a good analogy. I love a good story and I love a good analogy. Today, I'm going to share with you one of my favorite analogies to highlight the importance of consistency and showing up. But I need to just explain, this analogy initially started as a bit of a word vomit. Greg and I were in the middle of doing a training and I had a bunch of people complaining, Sam and Greg, we've done all of the things people have told us to do, and I had a particular person that showed up and said, I posted for 7 days straight and nothing happened. So no one interacted. And so I thought this is a waste of time. And so I stopped. And I went, are you kidding me? Just because they're not interacting doesn't mean they're not watching. And she said, I don't know what you're talking about. And this analogy kind of just vomited out of my mouth in words. And Greg looked at me and went, what are you talking about? But by the time I got to the end of it, everyone had this aha moment. And so I'm hoping you can also have an aha moment today. So let me explain this to you. The way I see this in my head is it's a little bit like being in a clearing in a forest. So I want you to imagine for a moment you're standing in a clearing and surrounding you is a circle of trees. Now, you can see the first row of trees, but because the forest is so thick, you can't see beyond that. Now, you know that the likelihood is behind those trees, there are some animals out there in that forest. You're aware you can't see them, but you're standing in the clearing, so they can see you. Now, I want you to just imagine this for a moment. You're standing in the clearing, thick trees all surrounding you. You can't see much past those trees. You know there's some animals out there. Imagine for a moment that your favorite animal is out there and you would love nothing more than to attract that animal into the clearing and to come and eat some food out of your hands. You might want to pat the animal. That's how we say it in Australia. I think in America you say pet. You want to pat the animal. And so let's just say, for argument's sake, every time I do this presentation, people throw all sorts of animals at me. We're going to go with a deer today. So let's just say you want to attract a deer out of the trees to eat out of your hand. We know that in order to do that, there's a few things you need to do first. First thing we know is that deer right now does not know if we're trustworthy. Now, I'm going to call a spade right now. And sadly, this industry has developed a bit of a bad rap over the years. People often stereotype this industry and wonder, if I come forward, am I going to get bombarded? What's going to happen? Now, many of your potential customers right now are really interested in what you do. They're really interested in your product, but they're waiting to see first how safe you are. So it's a little bit like those animals behind the trees right now, that deer going, are they safe, aren't they? So there's a few things you need to do in order to attract that deer. But I'm going to tell you what the 4 most common mistakes I see people making. The first mistake I see people making is they stand in that clearing, they want the deer to come out from the trees, and they're holding a steak. They've got the wrong food in their hands. In other words, they're delivering the wrong content to their audience. They haven't tailored it for their audience. So you're not going to attract a deer with a steak, and you're probably not going to attract a lion or a tiger with some grain or some grass in your hand. So you need to have the right food to start with. The second mistake I see people making is that they see a deer there or an animal coming and they throw the food into the trees. This looks a little bit like this. Hey everybody, I've got a product I want to share with you. This is an amazing product. I love it. It's the best thing ever. We've got a very special deal on right now. Here are all of the ingredients that are in it. Here is everything that it does and all of its benefits. Really special deal. This is the price. And just to make it really easy so you can buy the product right now, I'm going to give you the link so you can go to my online store. That is what we call giving the farm away or throwing the food into the trees. That animal no longer has any reason to come into that clearing and connect with you. You've got to give people a reason to connect with you. This is a relationship business at the end of the day. If you tell them everything they need to know and give them everything they need, they've got nothing left to connect with you over. So that's the second thing I see people doing. The third one looks a little bit like this. Let's just say you've got the interest of the deer. You've got it sticking its nose out from the trees. Maybe it's taken a little step forward. It's curious now. It wants to know what else you've got. And as you see it stick its nose out from the trees, you do this. Hey, I've got one. Come here. Let me show you more. I want to talk to you. Come here. I've got some food. Come here. And you chase it into the trees. Now, we've all seen somebody do this in this industry, but what's going to happen? That deer is going to run for the hills. It's never coming back to that clearing, and it's going to tell all of its deer friends, no matter what, don't go into that clearing. It's not safe. The last thing that I see people doing really wrong in this space is they leave the clearing. They think, no one's watching, no one's paying any attention, no animal has come into the clearing yet. And so after 5-7 days, they walk away, they leave. And guess what? The animal loses its interest and it also walks away. Now, I know it's a bit weird to compare humans to animals right now, but I do want to do something here and I want you to understand this and really get clear on this. Social media is a powerful way for you to seed, to create trust, to build the relationship. But at the end of the day, you've got to show up. Just because people aren't interacting with you does not mean that they're not watching. So stay in that clearing, build the relationship, create curiosity and intrigue, and have, of course, the right food in your hands. I hope that this makes a little bit of sense. As we go forward, I'm going to share with you some strategies right now, some posting content strategies, but I want to just, again, use another little, I guess a word picture here. And I want you to think about this a little bit like creating your own recipe. There's no one way to show up on social media. Yep, there are best practices for sure. And you've had many of those shared today. But the thing is that the one thing that makes your business unique is you. And that is exactly my point. You are unique and your target audience is also unique to you. And so one of the things that we all need to do is create our own social media recipe. Now, in that recipe, you're going to have some ingredients that are necessary. My husband, Greg, is gluten and dairy intolerant. And so, imagine for a moment I wanted to create for him a gluten-free, dairy-free brownie recipe. I say this because he'd love very much for me to create for him a gluten-free, dairy-free brownie recipe. But I know there are some ingredients I'm going to need to incorporate into that recipe. I'm going to need to have a flour component of some sort. I'm going to need to have some eggs and maybe a sweetener of some sort. But at the end of the day, what that sweetener is, what that flour component is, maybe even the method I use to apply those things can differ. So think about it this way. Your ingredients, yes, they're going to need some staples, but you're going to need to adjust those ingredients, apply them at different times in different amounts using different methods to work for your audience. And that's the thing we have to keep in mind. Who are we serving the end product to? What is our audience like? When Greg tastes that brownie that I try for the first time, which by the way is probably going to be a little messy, it's probably not going to be perfect. I'm not going to get it right first go. Greg tastes that brownie for the first time, he's going to come back and say, oh, it wasn't sweet enough, or, it was a bit dense. And that's my opportunity, of course, to make some adjustments, to tweak it. I've got to listen to what my audience is saying to me, pay attention to how they're interacting, and then change up that recipe. And we only get it right by getting it wrong. But one of the core, most important things that we've all got to be doing is inserting our personality. Take your own photos, write your own captions, and authentically be you. I want to give you 3 key steps here right now. Three of the things that we all want is we want to attract new people to our business, we want to convert more people, and we want to retain people. So I want to cover off on those things, 3 things very quickly with you. The first of those is attracting people and meeting them first. So how do we meet new people? How do we meet people outside of our existing network? How do we attract people in our own network that might be interested in what we're doing? In other words, how do we get that deer to stick its nose out from behind the trees and show that it might just be interested? Well, the first thing we have to do is to create content on social media they can't ignore. But there's a core step here. There is something we must do first, and that is this. We've got to get to know who we're talking to. Who is your tribe? That algorithm is looking for quality content to deliver to the right people. That algorithm knows everything about you. It knows everything about your audience. So how are we going to get it to deliver content to our ideal people if we don't know who they are? And keep this in mind. If you're trying to attract every animal from behind those trees, every animal from the forest, you're going to fail miserably, because when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. So I'm going to give you, I can't go through all, I could do a whole training just on this one exercise right here. But I want to leave you with 2 things. I want you to always be asking yourself about your ideal customer. This could be your existing customers. It could be future customers. It could be existing team. It could be people that you dream of attracting to your business. But always be asking these 2 golden questions. You ready? Question number 1 is this: what keeps them up at night? This essentially means what bothers them, what challenges them, what frustrates them, what problems in life does my audience want to solve? Now, notice I did not say, what problem can you solve? This isn't about you solving their problems. It's about you resonating and connecting with them and understanding what those problems are. And in many cases, you're going to share some similar challenges in life as well. And that's where you resonate, connect, and relate with them. Going back to Greg and his gluten and dairy intolerance, he's not looking for someone to solve that problem. He's looking for people that understand that problem, that connect with him over that problem, that can share with him recipes and fun solutions and ideas around that, but not necessarily someone to come along and say, I can fix you. So that's number 1. That's golden question number 1. Always be wondering, always be asking, what keeps them up at night? The next one is this: what gets them up in the morning? And this essentially means, what do they value? What do they love? What conversations do they want to have? What's important to them? Now, as we really quickly, I want to talk to you about 5 quick content strategies that once you've identified these things are going to help you to share quality content with your audience. These are 5 strategies that I believe are 5 critical ingredients in your recipe. Now, these could look like lots of different things, but I want you to incorporate them, or at least play with these ingredients and see how they fit for you. The first of these is engagement posts. Engagement posts are simply an invitation for people to connect and interact with you, to engage with you. So the first thing is incorporate into your recipe an opportunity for people to connect. Engagement posts do three key things, and I believe they truly get overlooked. Yes, they build engagement, and engagement in turn builds reach. Yes, that's a thing. But that's not the core reason I encourage you to do this piece of content. The core reason are for the other two reasons, which is number one, it will help you learn about your audience. If you're asking right now, who's my tribe? What do I need to know about them? These sorts of cleverly crafted questions are going to help you learn about them. But last, definitely not least, it's also going to help you create meaningful conversation. It's going to help you start the conversation to relate, to interact, because it's two-way, not one way. I've just got up on the screen here. You can take a little screenshot or a little photograph of this if you like. Some engagement question starters just to get you going, because there are so many different versions of this that you can do. Now, the next one is be human and story sharing, not storytelling, story sharing. Now, you all have micro moments, things that happen in your life. And Fraser said this so beautifully when he explained the importance of sharing the truth of who you are. Now, this doesn't mean you have to overshare and tell everybody about all of the things that go on in your life, but you have micro stories that happen every day that would help you relate with your audience. You know, I know that my target audience, you guys, many of you are parents just like me. And so one of the things I'll often share in between is a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes for me. You know, my kids overtook my camera one day, and I came into the office and I found this hilarious video that they'd done using my studio. It took me months to find it. And, you know, I popped it up on our Facebook and our Instagram, and everyone loved it because it was just so real, so funny, and so relatable. You know, Fraser shared a few weeks ago a picture of him up on stage with his little baby girl, and he shared a story about how this was a dream for him, something he'd pictured being able to do. And here he was with his little daughter up on stage about to present at an event. You know, these things don't seem like much, but suddenly it creates a human element. About 2 years ago, my youngest Levi, he was 8 at the time, and I asked him to go lay his clothes out. I said, Levi, go lay your clothes out. You know, I'm busy getting dinner. And a few minutes later, he comes running in and, Mum, come and look at what I've done. He was so proud of himself. He grabbed my hand and he dragged me into his bedroom and he showed me this. He had laid out a human made out of clothes, right? With the underwear on the top, just so I know he was planning to wear them. Yes, mums of girls right now, it is an issue for mums of boys, making sure they wear underwear at all times. So he shows me this little human he's laid out, so proud. And I thought, do you know, one of the things I know about my audience is that they have kids that do crazy, quirky things too. I want to share this. I put it up on social media and I made it engaging. In other words, two-way and social. And I asked the question, do your kids have any funny quirks? You know, what are some of your stories, or what are some of the words that they say in a funny way? And the post went viral. It went viral because I had asked others to interact and I'd shown them a little bit into my world as well. You know, our stories sometimes can be hard to share. They can feel self-indulgent, but we don't build relationships with people by only sharing our knowledge. We don't do this in real life. We don't build relationships by only talking about our business. We do it by sharing a piece of who we are and getting to know a piece of them as well. The next piece of content, I'm racing through here because I know we've really got to wrap up, but the next one is curiosity and intrigue. You need to give them a reason to come forward. And one of the things I would say here that's really, really important is know what they want and then almost give it to them. Don't tell them everything they need to know. In other words, don't give away the farm. Keep it fun, keep it curious, leave a little bit to the unknown and have them coming forward to ask a little bit more. I've got so many cool stories and examples of this I can't go into today, but you know, if we ever get to meet again, I'm sure I'll get to share a few of those with you. But another way that you can do this, and another screen that you can take a little photo of, is hooks. Use hooks to get their attention. Create clever captions that they can't ignore, that suck them in, that make them go, oh, what's going on here? Less on social media is often much, much more. Remember, don't give the farm away. know what your audience wants, then almost give it to them. Fourth is lead magnets. Now, this one is one of the most powerful strategies you will ever use. This is providing a piece of value for your audience in exchange for an engagement or an interaction. Now, I have gifted you in your workbooks, that downloadable workbook that's been provided for you today, a lead magnet cheat sheet. Seriously, this is one of the most powerful strategies you can implement on social media right now to be always attracting new leads, new potential connections, and building on those connections in your business. Now, in that cheat sheet, I've provided you with 25 lead magnet examples you could create right now. I've given you some tips on how to use them, and there's a little QR code there that you can scan where I've recorded a video telling you how to use this strategy and this particular cheat sheet. So make sure that you grab that after the session today. Now, I'm not going to spend very long on this one because it's already been covered in depth, but all types of video content. That includes reels and stories, which is your short form. It also includes your long form video. Video of all descriptions right now is the most consumed piece of content on social media, and absolutely without a doubt what you should be incorporating into your recipe. So the first thing was attract people. The second thing is we need to convert people. In other words, we need them to go from the trees to the middle of the clearing where we are right now. And how do we do that? We do it by dating our customers. Now, I mean this in the most appropriate of ways, but we want to date our customers. If you met somebody for the very first time and you thought to yourself, this could be my perfect future partner in life, would you just say to them straight out of the blue, hey, how are you? Will you marry me? No, I sure hope not. And if you did, I reckon there'd be a human-shaped hole in the nearest wall. But this is how most of us, many of us, show up on social media. Hi, how are you? Will you buy from me? Hi, how are you? Will you book from me? Book with me? Hi, how are you? Will you join my business? We haven't earned the right to do that yet. So remember, to date our audience, we need to provide value. We need to make it about them as much as it is about us. We need to interact. Don't post and ghost. Interact with them and stay consistent. I've already mentioned it, but it's worth mentioning again because it's so important. Stay consistent. You wouldn't go on one date and wait 12 months and go on next one, would you? And remember this key thing here, your customer's favorite subject is in fact themselves, and every human's favorite word in their vocabulary is their own name. The last but not the least is connecting. And in other words, how do we keep our customers? How do we retain our business? Well, one of the questions I get asked a lot is, how do I take the conversations offline? How do I have an appropriate conversation with people and build that relationship? Well, I've got a second gift for you in that workbook. And that is some scripts to start a conversation. I've given you some of my favorite ways to have a conversation with someone you've never met, someone that you've started to meet, a past person that maybe you haven't spoken to in a long time, or a customer that maybe has fallen off the tracks a little. This is a really great little download. It's going to help you. It's going to give you some insight into how to appropriately have those conversations. And again, I've included a little video giving you some more steps in that space to help you with that journey. But I want to remind you of this, no matter what you do, the most important thing that you need to remember is we've got to put the social back into social media. This is two-way conversation. And get a little bit messy. Be present over being perfect. Show up. Your audience are waiting for the imperfect, which is in fact the perfect version of you. And one of my very favorite quotes from the amazing Zig Ziglar, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. The question I have for you all today is as simple as this. Who's going to pick up those tools? You've been imparted with so much incredible wisdom and knowledge today, but it's only those of you that use that incredible knowledge that are going to get the growth in your businesses. So my only question to you right now is, what are you going to do next? Thank you so much, everybody, for having me. Thank you to the amazing team at Multibrain and Scott. It's so awesome to be here with you guys bright and early this morning. Again, thank you to the DSA. I'm going to hand back over to the amazing Scott Kramer right now.
No, I'm here with you.
You're here. Hello.
It's so good, so good, so good. My favorite analogy of all time, it has to be the forest, the clearing in the forest. I love that story. I'm gonna take it one day. I just never tell it the way you do. But
I think it
fantastic.
changes every time I tell it.